Hi there, my lovely friends. And just let me pull up my script, please, because I'm trying to do this professionally. Today's video is for anybody who's ever said, I want to write a book someday. Maybe you've had that idea carried around for years. Maybe it just showed up one morning and it will not leave you alone. For some reason, you want to write fiction. I know that feeling. The urge is there. That story is whispering at you. But when it actually comes to sitting down and getting to start it or finish it, something gets in the way. If this sounds familiar to you, my friends, you are not alone. And today we're going to talk about some of the most common things that stop people, especially new writers, and especially those starting perhaps a bit later in life, from beginning or finishing their fiction book. More importantly, we're going to talk about how you can move through those roadblocks. So let's get into it. The first common thing that I hear, and it's one of the biggest myths in writing today, is I'm too old to start now. Stop. You're not. You have had decades of life experience. You have lived through joy and heartbreak, big moments and little ones. You have seen the world change, especially if you're around my age. And all of that gives you something that a lot of young people don't have just yet, and that's perspective. That means you're right on time to start writing now. Apparently, Frank McCourt published his first book at age 66. Mary Wesley didn't start publish her first adult novel until she was 70. I personally didn't start my self-publishing journey with my first book until I believe I was 52. And yeah, I've written about 100 books since. Believe me, once you start, it won't stop. So if age is the thing that is holding you back because you figure you're too old, please let this be your permission slip. You are not too old. When it comes to writing fiction, you are just getting started. Isn't it exciting? The other thing that I hear quite often is that I don't know enough about writing. I've never studied it. Don't I need a degree? No, I don't have a degree in writing. You don't need a degree in literature. You don't even need a degree in creative writing. You just need to have a basic knowledge of how, well, I'm going to say English because I'm talking about this in English, but basically if you can talk to somebody and tell them a story, you could write that conversation down and suddenly you're getting a book. The other thing, though, you need to know is writing is like any other craft. Like oh no, I haven't got it handy, but I'm learning to draw, right? I decided to do that at 60. Why not? You know, I want to know how to do it, so I'm learning it. Writing is a craft, and like any craft, you get better with it as you keep doing it. Read books, watch videos like this one. Try writing a little bit every day, every week. You don't need to know everything to get started. You just need that idea. And you will honestly learn more by doing, more by writing one messy chapter than you will if you read 10 writing blogs. So don't worry about what you don't know. Take what you do know and start writing. Another big complaint or a big barrier to writing a book is I don't have the time. I know about that. You know, life is full for all of us, and it seems to be getting more and more hectic. You know, even if you're like me and you're like in your 60s, you know, there's still families to see, those dreaded appointments you don't want to go to, the daily routines and things like that. I'm really privileged because of what I do, because of my writing. I don't have to go and have an outside job or anything else like that. Writing is my life, but it doesn't have to take over your life. You don't need like 4 hours a day and a special candle and a cabin in the woods. You can do it with 15 minutes and a notebook. or the notes app on your phone, or a quiet moment on your computer with a cup of tea. Set a timer for 10 minutes and just write what comes. You'll be amazed at how much you can get done once you start. Writing isn't about waiting for that perfect time. It's about making that time in little small pockets of time. And you'll be amazed at how much you can achieve. Another classic one, and I have discussed this in other videos as well, is what if what I've written is no good? And that's fine too. Your first draft probably won't be any good, and that's okay. Even best-selling authors write cringy first drafts. But the goal of a first draft is not to be brilliant. That is not your story's final form. The goal is to give you something to work with, something to shape, something to edit, something to read back on and suddenly think, oh, hang on a minute, he said this here, but he meant this here, and tweak. You need to get those words down first. So you're not even asking yourself if it needs to be any good. It doesn't. Somebody once said that worrying about the quality of your writing or your new book too soon is like planting a seed and then digging it up the next day to see if it's growing. I like that idea. Trust the process. Let the story come out messy. You can always fix it later. But getting something done is better than doing something perfectly every single time. Don't let that worry about it not being good enough stop you from getting some words on the page. Another common thing that gets asked quite often or is said quite often is, well, I don't know where to start. You could have a story idea. You could have a sort of a concept, like a basic idea or a genre of what it is you want to write, but you're not sure how to start the story. And in a lot of ways, some of the previous things that have been said about writing a book, you know, about having that perfect first line or that perfect first chapter and things like that, has actually got a lot to answer for. Because if people think that first bit needs to be perfect, they won't even start. So, but if you're not sure where your story's going to start, just start with a moment. Jump your reader straight into a scene. Don't think about context. Don't think about backstories. Don't think about anything else. Just start your reader straight into a scene. And if you haven't got that scene in your head yet, then start with the feeling you want to explore. Start with a what if question. Even something as simple as, what if a lonely woman in a seaside town found a message in a bottle? That's a beginning. You don't need to know the whole story. You just need a little wee spark. Let that spark start something and let it lead you somewhere else. And you know what? If you are really stuck, there are a gazillion writing prompt websites online. Just go into one of them, pick something totally random, and just start writing about it. Do anything you can just to start, because I promise you it's really worth it when you do. Now, this next part is something that I have also dealt with in a previous video, in that, why should I even bother, because nobody's going to read my story anyway. Someone out there needs your story. You might not know who it is. You might not sell your book to 1 million readers. There'll be a lot of people that probably won't even like it. I've come across that myself. But someone, somewhere, will see themselves in the words and the worlds that you create. And for some reason, it will make them feel something. That is the power of storytelling. And even if no one ever read it, you will have written it. You will have created something that didn't exist before. You created something in its entirety, just out of words. Can you just stop and think for a second about how empowering that is? Write the book you want to read. I promise you, the rest will come. Now, some of you might have already started a story and you get so far because you're all excited in the first 2 or 3 chapters, and then you just, meh. You kind of got an idea on how you'd like it to end, but that middle, meh, your excitement's faded. You've now actually got to get down to the nuts and bolts of what you're saying and your story and everything else. And that can feel so hard. That's like sludging through trudge, no, it's not. It's trudging through sludge, isn't it? Yeah. The middle bit is always hard in a story. Every single author you could speak to will say the same thing. This is when you start to doubt yourself. This is when shiny new ideas start whispering in your brain. That happens to me. Oh my gosh, that happens to me. The key is to expect you're going to feel this way and just keep going anyway, my friend. You're not trying to tackle the whole middle in one chunk. Write 500 words, finish a chapter, write another 500 words, then finish that chapter. Plod through it till it gets done. Your momentum will build your trust with yourself. And finishing your book, even if you just did it once, that teaches you that you can do it. And I know you can because I did it. The last thing I'm going to cover here is that fear of judgment. I know a lot of people have it. I'm quite thick-skinned and I don't tend to have a lot to do with people anyway, so I don't suffer from that quite so badly. But there's that whole thing about what will people think? What if they laugh? Writing is a very vulnerable thing to do, even if you are sharing fictional worlds. It is still something that you're creating and that's very special to you. And by having that be special to you, it does leave you in a vulnerable state. But the thing you have to remember is you don't have to tell anybody what you're doing. You don't have to show your work to anyone until you're ready to do that. You can even publish under a pen name, or you can just write for yourself. But don't let your fear of being judged steal your voice, my friend. Honestly, your story matters. Your perspective matters. Someone out there is waiting to read your book. Hey, it could be me. In fact, it would be me. I'll give you a promise here and now. If you write a book and you get in touch with me, I will read it. Okay? But you don't have to show your work to anyone if you're worried about being judged. You can do this completely anonymously. So don't let the fear of being judged stop you getting your story down onto the page, because that would be such a shame. So there you go. Those are my little tips on how to get over not getting started. Remember, you don't need permission from anybody to write a story. You don't need your story to be perfect, especially in the first draft. You don't even need to know what you're doing. You just need to start. And whether you're writing your first sentence or finishing your fifth draft, you have to keep going. Your story is worth telling, and it's never too late to start. Now, if this video did resonate with you just a little bit, please give it a like and tell me in the comments what's been holding you back from writing your fiction stories. I'd love to help in any way I can, and I will. You just have to let me know. So in the meantime, please like, please subscribe. I do long form content on Mondays and Thursdays. Please help me get please help me get the YouTube algorithm to understand that I'm still here, or more, that I've come back. And until next time, my friends, I will see you in the next video. You see me glancing off here, it's because I'm always having trouble finding the end record button. They should have it in a lot more obvious place. Just saying. Bye, my friends.